Hello and welcome to our first attempt at a podcast. I'm Jane.
And I'm Joe.
He's Joe. And we're both Slimming World members. Right, I'll start with a disclaimer by saying that whatever we say on this podcast is our thought, our idea or our opinion. If you don't agree with us, you have different thoughts, different ideas and different opinions, it doesn't mean you're wrong and we're right, or you're right and we're wrong. We just believe that everybody is entitled to make what they want of what their own experiences are. So, I've introduced myself, I'm Jane. I started slimming, as in weight loss, at 22 stone. And I'll ask Joe, what was your highest weight, Joe?
The highest I've ever been was just touching 15 stone.
So just touching 15 stone. He's 6 feet tall, I'm 5'2". Today I'm a member of Slimming World and my weight is somewhere around 11 stone and we're now at the end of April 2021. So I'm a member at just around 11 stone. You are a target member?
A target member at 10 stone, yeah.
At 10 stone. That makes me smile because you add Joe's weight to mine and you're still a stone short of what I used to weigh. That seems quite incredible. Right, so as we say, Joe is a target member, I'm a member. We both belong to the same group, which is in the Nottingham area. We both weigh weekly and we submit our weights at the moment to our consultant Naomi. We're still involved in Zoom meetings where we can. I think the pay and weigh groups are opening up around now, but I have
just turn this into a video.
No, I have no intention of going back to group. What we want to share on this podcast are our thoughts, ideas, opinions about Slimming World, how we work Slimming World and what we change. Also kind of where we've been diet-wise and what we're coming back to with Slimming World. So I'm going to hand over to Joe and ask Joe if he'll talk about firstly your experience of calorie counting, how you got into it, etc. MyFitnessPal?
Yeah. It was about, I think I was like 15 or 16 when I first properly started to understand like macronutrients and calorie counting and the fact that it's more of like a numbers, weight loss is like, or weight gain is a numbers based equation type system where if you eat less calories than you burn in a day, you end up losing weight over the week, and like how you can learn to measure it and taper it to how fast or slow you'd like to lose that weight. And yeah, that was all about 15, 16, and I ended up doing that till I was about 21, 22. So good number of years. What's that, like 5 years?
Six
years.
But did you have a weight problem when you first started doing that, or was it just that was a current trend at secondary school?
No, it's something I came across on the internet. It's nothing I talked to with my mates like openly at school or anything like that. There was no culture around it. It was like just something I ended up finding for myself because I wanted to lose a little bit of weight. I'd always felt a bit chubby.
Yeah.
And I wanted to like get a bit more in control of it. I just started cycling and exercising more, and I wanted to
just slim down a bit.
Yeah.
What would you say are the pros and the cons, or the fors and the against, when it comes to using and I keep saying MyFitnessPal, but I don't mean to pick on them because there's so many other apps out there. What are the fors and the againsts?
The fors, I'd say, the fact that you feel totally in control of your kind of weight destiny in a way. Like for me, I'm quite a mathematical person. I like numbers and I like graphs and stuff like that. So when you realise it's a bit of like a maths game, you
become obsessed.
You can get obsessed with it because the more time and effort you put into it, it feels like the more you'll get out of it. So weighing every little thing to the nth degree, like for every meal of every day, every ingredient of every meal, becomes like number one, it becomes part of your eating habits. It almost becomes a ritual before you get to your food. Like, if you're going to have, you know what you're having for tea, and like every day you lay out your ingredients and you weigh them and you input them, or you write them down in a journal to then input later. It just becomes like part of your routine, like anything else, and
you can build it into a life. But you use the word ritual. It becomes a ritual. What if you were in a situation where you were having tea somewhere else and you couldn't do that? How did that feel?
I don't just want this to become something knocking calorie counting because it works for other people though. Like, it didn't work for me because it became too much of it became like a chore or a job. It felt like, am I missing the point here? I'd like to be healthy and I'd like to be slim, and I know how to do that by because I've always liked to eat a lot of food. I need like a decent amount of food to fill me up.
Yeah.
So I always, like, even though I was counting calories, I wasn't necessarily going for packaged foods and like high calorie foods. Like, I'd always eat.
We've always been a big fan of vegetables.
Vegetables or the lower calorie, leaner cuts of meat or stuff like that, because I'm a bit of a Jack Sprat, but still, like, why would you go for 15% mince when you could have 5% and then have something else? You know what I mean? Yeah. You could have more vegetables or more pasta or rice or whatever. It just didn't make any sense to me. And like, if you like cook your own stuff, you can get more bang for your buck in a way. Do you know what I mean? So I've never ate like super badly. So
because I was just thinking, if you go for ready prepared meals, which is a nice easy option in sometimes in our lives, isn't it? Then you might pick up a microwave meal in Asda that's say 550 calories.
Yeah, they know how to pack them in.
Yeah, but you could cook a much bigger meal for 550 calories if you were starting with fresh veg and lean meat, fish. Yeah. And you actually quite like cooking at times, don't you? So.
Yeah, so I've never really had a problem with eating like junky, like high calorie foods. I forgot what the point of this tangent was.
The fors and against.
The fors and against, yeah. So like, but I don't want to go knocking it because it works.
It does work.
And for some, but for me, it ended up just being like, look, I'm doing research. I'm learning that like a lot of diet plans have a lot of similarities and their differences. So like the similarities seem to be like vegetables are good, always are good. Even if you're doing a keto diet, you can still eat like greens and stuff. So vegetables are pretty much always still on your plate. Lean meat, and
some carbs, but
realistic carbohydrates, like not chips or crisps or everything. Like those kind of things that are all like fried and stuff, but like potatoes seem to be fine across like a lot of diet plans, or like rice seems to be fine across a lot of diet plans and stuff like that.
I think with rice and pasta and stuff, for us, it took us a while to work out portion sizes.
Yeah.
And then one day it was like a mega revelation when we realised it tells you on the packet what an ideal portion size is.
Yeah.
Because when somebody says, oh, on this packet of pasta it says 75 grams dried pasta weight, you think, when you've been used to overeating it, you think, that's not very much. But when you actually get into the swing of being moderate with your portions, it's plenty. It's stuff like that. I think for whether you're doing Slimming World, calorie counting, Weight Watchers, any of those other sort of plans, it's learning portion control. And I've seen many people say on videos and in video comments that Slimming World doesn't teach you portion size. For me, it has done. It has done very much. But I think if I was doing calorie counting, maybe, I mean, it wasn't possible for me because it was too visual, but maybe I would have learned portion control a lot sooner by realising that, you know, that size portion of pasta was 300 calories. And that I've moderated myself to stick within calorie values for portion sizes.
Yeah, sure.
So I think there's a lot of positives in calorie counting. if you've got the discipline, if you've got the time. I think for me, as I say, it wasn't a possibility because it was too visual, but also I think it would have taken up too much time in my day, having to literally log it all, work it out. And then years ago, we didn't have all these marvellous apps.
Yeah.
They work it out for you.
Yeah.
Would you say most apps are 100% trustworthy? You can sort of put in...
Well, calories aren't 100% trustworthy. Isn't there like a 10% discrepancy?
There is
can
on...
be like 10%
yeah,
out.
Stuff that you buy in the supermarket,
Yeah,
ready
I mean,
meals.
you can't
There's
expect...
a 10% either
you
way
can't expect
discrepancy.
each ready meal on the shelf to have the exact same amount of everything
No, so if a ready meal says it's 500 calories,
Yeah.
it can be between 450 and 550.
Or if you're buying a sandwich from Asda or something like that, you can't expect everyone to be identical
No,
on
so
the
they
shelf.
have-
So there is a calorie...
Yeah, the law gives
Yeah.
them a 10% leeway.
So, but when you find out that like, oh, I'm trying to eat, say, 2,500 calories a day, and I could be either eating 2,250 or...
2,750 or something, yeah. A bit scary.
You could be way off.
Yeah, that was one of the things.
It just almost makes a joke of it. You kind of think, well, why am I putting in all this work trying to get it like perfect?
When there's no such thing
When
as
there's
perfect.
no such thing as perfect, and I could be eating something like totally different each day.
When I'm saying for's and against, one of the things I always saw, like watching your behaviour especially, if like you would start off with 2,000 calories a day or 2,200 calories a day, you've never been one for like going mega low and saying, oh, I'm only going to have 1,500 or something, have you? You've always kept it reasonably sensible. But I'd notice on a day, say you've been pretty busy, you've been at work, you've been doing stuff or whatever, and maybe that day you'd only hit, say, 1,800. I would see in you, the way you are with numbers and your love of numbers, that the next day it would be very hard to go back up to 2,000.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. And that brings up another point as well, that like on a day where I was busy, say, and the next day I was less busy.
Yeah.
The calorie counting treats those as the same days. I'd still have 2,200 on both those days. And I know it's meant to balance itself out across the week or the month or whatever, but that just feels weird to me. I could have a day where I'm like rushing around super busy non-stop. And
Probably going to the gym, walking 5 miles, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Riding your bike to work.
The next day is a
back.
rest day, but I'm expected to eat the same amount.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have the same appetite.
And I haven't got the same appetite, and then you feel bad on the days where your appetite's sky high and you feel like eating the world.
Then the guilt sets in.
The guilt sets in for stepping 100 calories over your allotted calories for the day. If I'm on 2,200 and I eat 2,300, I feel terrible, and I feel like I've maybe got to like claw it back the next day by dropping down to 2001.
So you're using the phrase we often use in Slimming World, which is pull it back.
But I don't think that's a Slimming World like.
No, I think every diet does that.
Only thing.
Yeah.
Is it?
No, I mean you've done over the years. You've done pretty well on calorie counting, but you're like me. You can be very obsessive about things, and you are a perfectionist. You're an all or nothing perfectionist. So when you couldn't get it perfect, I often saw that was what knocked your duck off and sent you into a binge mode.
Yeah.
Because I haven't been good enough today.
You blow it out of proportion, don't you? You
Yeah.
think 100 calories is 1,000, and you think, oh, I've blown it now. I'd better either claw it back tomorrow or.
And tomorrow
I've blown
isn't
it,
now, so now I can eat whatever I like until tomorrow and start again. And
Which
we're always,
happens.
lots of us quote this, I'll start again tomorrow. How different do you think it is now that you've got into the swing? I mean, you've done Slimming World on and off in the 6 years that I've done it, for portions of time.
Mm-hmm.
But about 5-6 weeks ago, you decided that in the lockdown, over the year and a bit, you'd put on like 10.5 pounds. And you wanted to, well, it wasn't really 10.5, that's where you've gone down to now, but say just over half a stone, and you wanted to get back to what you consider your comfortable, healthy weight is. So you joined Slimming World again, but you joined properly as a member, paying member. And in 5 weeks, you got to Target, and that's where you're living at now, you're living at Target. How much more convenient do you find Slimming World than calorie counting, just on a simple daily basis, to allow you to change what you eat and like up your portion sizes on the days when you are doing more and moderate them on the days when you're doing less? Do you find Slimming World works better for that?
Yeah,
without the guilt?
There's a number of ways it works better, but I'm not trying to like be biased and say that it's the best one ever.
No, because there will be others seasons.
There are cracks in it.
Yeah,
of course there are.
seasons,
There are loads of things that
diets.
annoy me about it, but I think it is an easier plan to follow than the rest, and I think it is better than it was before. Now that you get 2A choices.
Because one of the first things you said to me about Slimming World when I first started doing it, and I didn't take it on board at the time, was when you're looking at portion control, you only have to look at the Slimming World plate. It's 1/3, 1/3, 1/3.
Yeah.
And I haven't always done that, and I definitely didn't do it on the plant-based diet. And on the plant-based diet, I've gained 1.5 stone when everybody else was like, you'll lose weight on this. The minute you go plant-based, you lose weight. I totally lost a balance between the three kind of plate things. I just became resentful of the things I couldn't have. Even though I didn't necessarily want them, I got resentful because I couldn't have them. And I don't function well like that. Well, yeah, you with your smoked salmon. But me with just something like, I'd want something and you'd say, oh, I know, it's something corn, and you'd say, can't have that, it's got egg white in it. And I got resentful because I couldn't have like corn,
yeah.
And yet I might not eat corn more than once or twice a month at the biggest amount I eat.
Yeah.
So I think although I could fit working a plant-based diet into Slimming World, it didn't work for me, and I piled weight on. That's not the only reason I put weight on. I've been off plan quite a lot. But when you talk to me about using Slimming World, the Slimming World plate as a moderator for portion size, I can see that now.
Yeah, it's a bit.
Yeah.
I know what you were saying about calorie counting. With it might have taught you portion control a bit better, because you could say, right, this is X number of calories, therefore that's a portion of potatoes, or this is X calories, that's a portion of rice. Yeah. But I don't think it does, because you get all those people who manipulate it and have 1 or 2 meals a day. They'll say like, oh right, I'll skip breakfast so I can make my portion at tea and lunch bigger. Or the people who skip breakfast and lunch and make their tea a ridiculous portion.
Yeah, and just use all their calories having a binge or a junk meal.
Yeah, so I don't think that teaches you portion control any better than any other plan does.
So maybe the portion control comes better because you've got to have 1/3 protein, 1/3 speed, 1/3 free. So it encourages you to eat your carbs, it encourages you to eat your protein, it encourages you to eat vegetables.
Yeah.
Because so many times we've sat down and watched videos together from people we've never watched before on YouTube, and your observation's been, where's the veg? Yeah. Why don't people eat vegetables today?
That was like a criticism I did have before as well, because I realised the importance of like dietary fat, and you can't just live off protein and carbs. It just seems like a bit of an unbalanced diet. Yeah. So like now the fact that you get 2A choices, which let's be honest is kind of, I see it as your fat choice almost, because you get your cheese, your milks, those things that are a bit higher in calories because of their fat content.
Yeah.
I think that works better now.
Well, we were saying the other day that we find a little bit of fat in the diet makes the plan a lot more filling.
Oh yeah, God, it goes a long way to filling you up. It satisfies you in the long term, doesn't it? In that break between meals, it keeps you going. It's like...
Yeah, I was observing what you had the other day for breakfast. I think it was Monday probably. You had a massive bowl of fruit. You had like 5 different fruits.
Yeah. I
mean, whole portions, not just a couple of each.
Yeah.
Because we worked out portion sizes. Like a portion of strawberries is 7 strawberries, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we looked in The Guardian, we found all that. And that morning you had 5 portions of fruit.
And a fat-free yoghurt.
Yeah, but it was a 500
gram fat-free yogurt. Yeah.
So that whole breakfast was free.
Yeah.
And it was massive. And you ate the lot and you enjoyed it and you said, feel great. We went out for a walk, which was probably 4 or 5 miles. By the time we got back, you were hungry.
Well, yeah, by the time you're halfway around the walk or just leaving the house, you're hungry again. It's weird.
But the next day, you made the same breakfast with, you maybe changed one of the fruits.
Half the yoghurt.
You had half the yogurt.
No, it was the same breakfast, half the yogurt, and added a tin of kippers, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because the kippers have got a modicum of, or an amount of fat in them, that had the total opposite effect. It kept you full for like 4 or 5 hours until your next meal.
Yeah. It turns that little like nagging voice off in your head that's like, oh, I'm picky, I'm hungry.
Yeah, I'm feeling peckish.
Yeah, it turns that off.
Which
Which that's why I appreciate the second A choice so much, because now I can have an A choice with my lunch after my kippers at breakfast. I'll have like an oily fish at breakfast.
So you don't use an A or B choice with your breakfast, do you?
No, not with my breakfast.
But you'll have an A choice with your lunch.
Lunch and tea.
Tea.
Yeah. And I'll have a
oily B fish choice usually in the evenings.
At breakfast. But try and get a free food that's got a bit of fat in it. So like oily fish for the omega-3. And I find it better.
Yeah, I'm finding that the fridge pots of John West tuna, if I have the one that's got oil in it, which is 3 sins, I find that so filling. If I have the one with brine in it, I find that dry and it just doesn't do it for me. I'm hungry afterwards. I don't even feel satisfied.
Yeah. I mean, there's that whole thing about protein fills you up. I think it does to a certain extent, but
fat fills you up.
Fat satiates you.
I think sometimes for me on the Slimming World plan, I have gone too low fat. I've gone to where I've got to the end of the day. You've looked back over my food plan and said there's no fat there at all. That's just not good for your hair. It's not good for your skin. And it's true. You do need some fat in your plan. Even if you're only going to, for me at the moment, I use both A choices for cheese because I'm not using milk at the moment because I'm right off coffee. But like yesterday, I had a toasted wholemeal bagel and I counted 6 of the 11 sins from the bagel as my B choice because I can have 60 grams of wholemeal bread.
Yeah.
And I had both A choices. I had half on each half of the bagel, one on each half of the bagel, I had it toasted. And I served that. I had 8 crab sticks with it, or seafood sticks, whatever you call them. I had a pile of pickled cauliflower, a pile of pickled gherkins. And I looked at that plate and I thought, this is grand. But some people would go, no way. That's a B choice and 2 A choices on one plate. But that works for me.
Yeah, why not?
Because I know I've got them to spend.
Yeah.
And if I look at my whole day's food, why not spend them all in one meal? Where's the fear? Because it frustrates me when I see people using couscous in place of porridge so they can have their porridge later. In my head, that feels like doubling up.
Yeah, it does, because
and
it's just so you can spend the sins on chocolate or something later, isn't it?
That's my biggest gripe on Slimming World. When I see people eating like a sparrow all day, or living on lettuce and wafer thin ham or something, and then get into night time so they can spend all 15 sins on a snack plate.
Yeah.
15 sins, 300 calories-ish, is not that much.
No, it's not.
Is it? And I'd be going through the day thinking, oh God, I'm bored, oh God, I'm resentful, oh God, I'm whatever. Then I'd get to the evening, I'd open my first pack of crisps out of the multi-pack, and before I knew what I was doing, oh God, no. Before I knew what I was doing, I'd be eating the other 5 packs because I've gone too long.
Too deprived,
Yeah, I can't do it like that.
Yeah.
I think for me, I'll have my 15 sins every day.
I don't think I'd even make it to the picky plate.
You'd make it till 3 o'clock and then you'd be off to Asda for a binge.
I'd have to go to Asda for a binge because I've deprived myself for 2 meals.
Long, yeah. But I find that if I focus on the fact that I am allowed 2 A choices, 1 B choices, I am allowed 15 sins.
Yeah.
I can get probably a slower weight loss on 15 sins than I would on 7 sins.
Yeah.
But bottom line, could I do 7 sins every day for the next 10 years? And when I went down lower and I was only doing maybe 7 or 8 sins a day, when I upped my sins to 15 again, I put weight on.
Yeah, you'd be scared
to go above, wouldn't you? Get scared.
Yeah, you'd be scared to go more than 7.
One of the things I would like to see at Slimming World, and I want to see more men in group, that's a good place to start. But I would, if I was, me, know all, I'd like to see women sins 5 to 15, men 15 to 25. People would say it's sexist, you can't do it. But I think we should be encouraging men who come into group to start on 25 sins.
Yeah, start high and then you can always
they're
bring
not
it down.
women. They shouldn't be aiming to have... The Slimming World plan initially, I believe, was set up...
because sometimes it just doesn't work out. You like, I don't know, sometimes like I'd want to be below 10, not below 10 but around 10.
Because of that you were having a quiet day.
Yeah.
And then other days, but you want to be able to go up to 25 when you need to.
Yeah.
So say 10 to 25.
Yeah, 10 to 25 is probably a better range.
Because when this diet was initiated back in '69, it was a diet plan for women. And if we're going to invite men in there, we've got to allow them to eat a suitable amount of food. You know, and if a man wants a pint of beer at night, whereas a woman would have a gin and tonic's 3.5 sins, a pint of beer is quite a bit more. And if the man and the woman are doing the plan together and eating the same food, he needs that extra allowance to facilitate for the fact that he's going to eat man things or man-sized things.
I appreciate
he might need 2 burgers where a woman only needs 1 burger.
Yeah. Yeah,
so I think there needs to be a bit of
the protein type things I have with my tea.
Yeah, because at tea time, like last night, you had a Naked Glory burger and half a pack of vegan strips.
Half a pack of the strips,
yeah. Whereas I would have had one or the other. I couldn't eat both.
Yeah.
So I think we do need a bit more remit. It's good though, isn't it, to see that there's more for men on the app.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I appreciate this, like, updating the app, because it's made it a lot clearer on there that there is a difference between men's sins and women's sins. If you look at, like, the food optimizing guide, it does ask you, like, if you're a man or a woman, I think, and then tells you how many sins you're allowed because of your gender.
I do like the thing where you'll see the what I ate in a day. I don't want to see what they eat every day. That's
the
boring.
Success stories.
The success stories.
Yeah.
But when they give you that what I ate in a day, because we was looking at some of the blokes ones the other day, I wish they'd break it down so that anybody who was new to the plan, say like, you know, somebody coming along today wanting to join it for the first time, some 21-year-old bloke, could actually look at that food plan and say, I see how that fits into the plan, I see where the boundaries are. There's his 2A choices, there's his B choice, that's where he's used his sins. But if it says evening snack, a Freddo and a packet of crisps, and it doesn't give you how many sins that is, it's not giving people a real indicator of the plan.
No.
I'd like to see a bit more detail in that.
I think I've spoke to you about this before. I remember saying it's as someone who, when I'm on plan and doing it and on a roll, I try to avoid dairy because it upsets my stomach.
Yeah.
And all of the examples that they seem to give are all, I have fruit and quark for a snack, or I have Freddos, or options hot chocolates and
all
stuff like that,
options.
all dairy things. And I'd love to see some examples of people's days who are dairy free,
or gluten free, or whatever.
Just people with different dietary needs and how that fits into the plan, because everyone's not the same, and we can't all eat quark without a griping stomach, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I always think, we've got a friend, Phil, who doesn't like tomatoes in any way, shape or form, and I think, how on earth could you do Slimming World if you don't like tomatoes?
Yeah.
Because when you open the cookbooks, and there are a plethora of cookbooks, a new one coming out very soon, which is called Fast and Free. So it's going to be fast, free meals that you can cook at speed. But I can bet you now, without even looking in that book, nearly everyone's got tomatoes in some guys and dairy in some guys, or if not both. And we find it frustrating. Eggs, you're allergic to eggs, you can't have eggs.
I'm a problem child, eggs and dairy, because they seem to be like two staples in the Slimming World diet, like quark, fat-free yogurt, all those kind of things.
Yeah, because you said the other day, I'd love to be able to have a crustless quiche.
Yeah, I would.
But you can't have the dairy.
It'd make Slimming World...
you get away with goat's cheese, can't you?
Yeah, goat's cheese, but goats don't lay eggs.
Too protein. Goats don't lay eggs.
You can't get goat's
No, you can't even get away with a duck's egg, can you? But, so for being on plan now, what we intend to do, what we're trying to do, is food optimise every meal, because one of my biggest excuses has always been, it's a B choice, I don't have to have anything with it. I can just have 2 Weetabix, I can just have porridge and put nothing with it. And Joe used to say to me, where's the harm in putting a bit of fruit with that or whatever? And I used to whinge, but basically, you know, I was a bit of a fibber because I think I was scared of adding more calories to stuff. You know, it's like on a lot of diet plans, you're not encouraged to eat carrots because they're too high in calories.
Too high in sugars or calories.
Yeah, 34 calories for 100 grams. Yeah, don't eat onions,
Don't
don't
eat
eat
onions.
carrots. I think it's Cambridge that says, don't eat onions, don't eat carrots.
You might get healthy.
Yeah, you might. Danger of that.
Oh my God.
But what we're finding now, what is working best for us is just bite the bullet and food optimise 3 meals a day.
Yeah.
So like when you have your breakfast...
I find, I don't mean to pick on you, but you were doing odd things like saying, oh, well, speed food is actually speed-free food. So, like, I don't have to eat anything but speed.
Yeah, because
it's free food.
and
It's
free
basically
food.
free food,
Yeah.
isn't it? And
But
I'm just focusing on free food.
But there were fears in me of like, I'm thinking about roasted parsnips. I love roasted parsnips. But I was like, parsnips. I've always been taught on diets that parsnips, carrots, peas, these are the things you have to be careful with. Slimming World tells me, no, Jane, you can have it. If you want to roast parsnips, just count the oil.
Yeah.
And it's surprising.
And it fits in that part of your plate. It fits in like the potato or the pasta part of your plate because it's a free food.
A couple of teaspoons or a dessert spoon of oil is 4 sins. And if I'm not prepared to use 4 sins to enjoy my dinner, there's something wrong with me.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, the other day when I said to you, I'd really been craving coleslaw. So I made some coleslaw, I bought a coleslaw kit, and I made the dressing with Fage yoghurt and Dijon mustard. And it was nice. It was really nice. But it wasn't what my taste buds wanted. My taste buds wanted a particular coleslaw from Asda, which has chives in it.
Yeah.
Joe can't eat it because it's got egg in it.
But it's a decent amount of sins for it,
But it's 6.5 sins for 100 grams.
Yeah.
And I was like, 6.5 sins for coleslaw. And then I thought, why the hell not? So I weighed 100 grams and then I love cheese in coleslaw, I mixed 60 grams of grated cheese into my 100 grams of coleslaw. And I served it with my fish and my pickles and 2 slices of wholemeal toast from a small loaf. And I sat there and I thought, there is no way on this earth that feels like diet food.
Yeah.
But it's the difference between what we call in our house diet food and what we call real food. We are trying not to do this plan on low calorie, low this, low that. We're trying to do it on real food. So when we have yogurts, Joe has to have soya yogurt, which I don't like. I'll choose Fage. Now, I don't mind having the fat-free Fage because it's delicious. But likewise, I don't mind sinning the full-fat one, which is even more delicious. It's savvy sins. And for me today, I would rather include the whole of my 15 sins in my meals. I was talking to my friend Lynn last week and I said to her I had 15 sins in my lunch, and she was like, what? And I said, I had 15 sins in my lunch. I actually had 140 gram avocado topped with tinned crab, and I served it with homemade coleslaw. The avocado was 14 sins, the homemade coleslaw was 1 sin for the Dijon mustard. And on that plate I had 15 sins. It was lovely. Why not? I've got them. Why not use it? Because the latest thinking in Slimming World and the latest training for the consultants is you've got 15 sins a day, or 25 if you're a guy. If you don't use them, you lose them. They're not encouraging us anymore to carry over sins. It doesn't work. Because if during the week you stick to 5 sins a day, which is 25 from Monday to Friday, which leaves you 80 sins for the weekend, and you blow those 80 sins on the weekend, you could well gain weight by your weigh-in on Monday morning. Because it's just not balanced.
Yeah.
And I think Slimming World is
really
seeing
hard.
that now. We are trying really hard. So
I'll give the example of like my lunch yesterday, but this is what we're trying to do. It's like the speed part, which is your vegetables, isn't it? Your lower calorie density vegetables.
Yeah.
And you've got your meat or your meat alternatives, and then your free food, and we're trying to spend sins as well. And like, so I had yesterday broccoli and pickles, like a bowl of broccoli and pickles.
You love
like
steamed broccoli.
I love broccoli. I absolutely love broccoli.
You'd have 2 heads a day.
I don't understand people that don't like their vegetables, because I could honestly eat a steamer full and it'd make me a very happy boy. But so broccoli with little pickled onions as well to go with
and
it.
pickled cauliflower.
And pickled cauliflower. And then in my other thing, I had rice, stir-in pasta sauce, and fish and cheese, didn't I?
Yeah.
But
the rice was 2.5
The rice
sins.
was 2.5 for the Tilda pouch rice. The
stirring Dolmio sauce was 7.5.
The stirring sauce was 7.5, yeah.
That's 10.
And then the white fish was like the meat part of my meal.
And that was free because you
That
just
was
steamed
free.
some cod.
And
the cheese was one of your healthy extra A's.
yeah, but it was like set out, wasn't it? So it was like the vegetables is your speed,
Yeah.
the fish is your protein, and then the rice is your free food. And then I spent my sins on the rice and the sauce.
Yeah, because when we say the rice is your free food,
Oh,
the only reason you had to count 2.5 sins for it was because it was a microwave pack. So you've got your free food component of the rice plus the addition of the oil that they put in it.
Yeah.
So 10 sins on that lunch, and
an A choice.
And an A choice, and you were well satisfied.
Yeah, it was perfect. But I know if I'd have just had if I'd have not spent the sins and I'd have had broccoli in a bowl with white fish and rice that I'd cooked myself with no sauce
and the pickles
and maybe a tin of chopped tomatoes in it,
you'd have been starved.
You know what I mean? I'd have been pissed off, yeah, because I'd have felt like diet food. But instead, I had a really luxurious lunch that had like
real food.
Yeah. But it was all within the context of my
fresh
sins
veg.
And healthy extras and everything.
Fresh veg, fresh fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like the low calorie veg, the protein, the free food. That's the third, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then spending sins and healthy extras, which helps.
And I was thinking, like, you've got 25 sins for the day. You spent 10 on your lunch. Why not? Why not spend 5 on your breakfast, 10 on your lunch, 10 on your dinner, whatever. But at the end of the day, when you'd had your Naked Glory burger and your vegan strips and your veg, and then at night you had 3 Weetabix with hot milk on for your supper, well, you like after your dinner, and that to
second
use
day,
up,
B choice,
and to
a few
use up
extra
some sins.
Yeah.
I think you finished the day on something like
16
and a half, 17 and a half sins.
Yeah.
Still well within your sins. You've got plenty left if you'd wanted more, but you didn't need any more. You didn't want any more. You were full.
That felt like more than enough.
Yeah. So this is why we love Slimming World.
Okay, let's look at your lunch then. So like, you had your pickles as your speed. And then you had your crab sticks as your meat,
but free,
your protein,
free food.
Yeah, no, that's your protein bit. We're trying to make the distinction between speed and protein.
And then I had my toasted wholemeal bagel.
Yeah, your B choice was like you're not going to have potatoes and a B choice with that meal, are you? No. So you used your B choice instead of having like I had rice, you had your B choice.
And then I had 2 A choices of cheese, so it was loaded with cheese and then put under the grill.
Yeah.
And okay, you could say I could have done with a free food component on there.
But we spoke about that. We said like if you're having your B choice and you're spending 6 sins plus 5 sins extra, so you're spending your B choice and 5 sins, on the bagel.
Yeah.
Then why do you need free food if that's just not extra?
I mean, I
didn't have potatoes with my Weetabix at tea. That would have been weird.
Yeah, but I did have what do you call those little pickles I'm obsessed with? The something gherkins.
Pickles, gherkins?
No, they're
cocktail
gherkins. I have 10 of those because I could eat the jar.
Yeah.
And then we discovered that you can get just pickled cauliflower in the jar, which is nice, isn't it?
But that's your veg.
Yeah.
And then crab sticks was your meat. And then your B choice was your
bagel.
Your free, standing in place of your free food.
Yeah, but it's getting that balance and coming out at the end of it. Not resentful because I've had 2 lettuce leaves, a slice of cucumber, and 2 wafer thin hams, or something like that, which doesn't work for me. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
Because I think I like to watch people who eat vegetables on Slimming World. I like to watch people who eat reasonable sized portions on Slimming World. And do you know, when we talk about calorie conversion, it's very easy to convert what I eat in a day video to calories. And there are people out there who are eating dangerously low amounts of calories that could do with a bit of medical supervision. Because long term, we cannot keep that up.
No.
It's not healthy.
And you wouldn't go to the toilet for like a week.
Yeah, can you imagine Operation Constipation?
Your body's going to hold on to all the calories it can, extract all the calories it can from your food and stuff like that. all your hormones are going to start slowing down, and you're going to feel really
Sex
sluggish
drive
and
will be
depressed and
parked up
stuff.
somewhere.
If you start eating too low calories, and your hair will go thin and start falling out, or your nails will start
Getting
like
brittle.
cracking and brittling, because you're not feeding. We're not robots. We don't live on petrol. We live on flipping calories. And
bottom
you
line,
need
our
a certain amount per
our
day.
brain needs a good amount of calories. And you'll notice if ever you hear me stuttering through words, because I can talk for England, but if you hear me stuttering and stumbling through sentences, it's usually when I'm not eating enough and my brain's foggy.
Yeah.
When I'm eating properly, I'm bright as a button, even for an old lady. Anyway, that's us. We love Slimming World, and I think it's been nice to just chat about it and talk about how a man can do it. You know, and people might be listening to this, they might go, 10 stone for a bloke? Well, believe me, he ain't rail thin. He's 30-inch to about 30-inch waist in jeans, yeah?
Yeah.
He's about 38-40 chest. He's got shoulders as wide as a wardrobe. He's not skinny. You wouldn't look at him and say skinny. He wouldn't want to be a lot thinner because he's 27. But, you know, if you look at his BMI, it's absolutely perfect. And for somebody who has joint issues, you can't afford to be carrying an extra 4 or 5 stone, can you?
No.
Not unless you want to be pretty miserable and in pain all the time. And his joint issues and that are not connected to his weight issues at all. It's a separate entity. But thank you for listening if you've got this far. If you enjoy our chats, maybe we'll come back and do another one at some point. But I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, I forgot we were even really doing it.
You just thought we were talking.
Yeah, you just end up talking, don't you?
Yeah. But that's it for today. And we'll upload this within the next couple of days. Take care, everybody. Stay safe.